Hey gang, this is Fillmore, just letting you know that if you enjoy our podcast, quite frankly, a Howard Stern podcast, and you'd like to donate some money for the upkeep, or you want to request certain clips, please donate to our Patreon page at patreon.com/JimFix. That's JIMFIXX. You can donate as much as you want for as long as you want. There's absolutely no obligation.
Everything, and then I would put on my underpants. And then I would
sashay out.
And then I'd parade around. And then, in order to feel more comfortable, we pretended I was at a gay club, walking around in just my underpants, and to see if everyone at the gay club enjoyed me. And when we voted on my underpants look, and that was really gay. You know, I was very gay.
It sounds gay because it was just the two of you.
Yeah. And then even Ralph said, you know, you don't need to keep parading around. Why don't you just try them on, and whatever ones you like, we can order.
Right. He doesn't need to see you.
Yeah. And I go, what's the matter? You don't want to see me?
Joe, hi, you're on the air. Hey, man.
Howard.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And nothing.
Listen, I think it's time you come out of the closet with Ralph.
Oh, please.
Because I know deep down, I mean that literally.
All right, so I'm a homosexual.
You're a sword swallower.
Right. I'm a homosexual. You're right.
Thanks, Howard.
Right. What can I tell you? I'm caught. Good. In fact, that's good. That would be easy. I'd love to be gay. Be so goddamn simple. And then when people ask me about why I'm separated from Ira, just go, you know what? I'm gay.
20% of American men had at some time in their lives at least one homosexual experience. Now, you told me every man did.
Yeah, well, every man has, but only 20% will admit to it. It's a pretty embarrassing thing. Every guy has at least had a sword fight.
Now, wait a minute. Would you say that just because you had, and you want to believe that every man does?
I never had a sword fight.
Not a sword fight, but you had a homosexual experience.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you want to call it that. I mean, I was a young child, of course.
I think that's why you want to just label every man.
Every man has had some kind of homosexual experience.
I'm like, I watch every movie.
I got to tell you, I had the same thing for a while. Like when I first started therapy, you kept asking me about like gay feel, like, you know, gay this, gay that. I go, listen, dude, let's cut that shit right now. I said, I got no problem with gay people. Dude, I'm not gay. Because, yeah, but, you know, you have to explore that side. And I go, bullshit. I'm not exploring that. I got no problem.
Yeah, what do you mean explore?
I like chicks, dude.
We're going into June 3rd now, everybody, and this was the kicker. This is where he finally, after much ado, starts talking about the George Floyd situation, and then the ensuing protests and occasion and some riots and whatever, looting and what have you. But he decides to make it all about how white people moved out of Roosevelt in the late 60s, and how if you're a black person, if you're a white person and black people move next to you, you're going to leave. This was his entire thought.
Well, I mean, didn't you hear the 60s Minutes piece where he told Ed Bradley he's a minority? So, I mean, it's writing.
Okay, so hold on. First off, before he goes into anything, I'm going to read a little from the Colford book. I have it highlighted.
Oh,
and
such a beautiful text.
Yeah, and we're going to eventually go through that, guys. I'm still waiting on a few things before that can happen. So by the end of the 68-69 academic year, when Howard was completing the 9th grade, more than 3/4 of the 4,000 students in Roosevelt schools were black, and 1/3 were families receiving welfare assistance. So it was like lower class whites and blacks, but in the school. However, by this time, most of Howard's pals had left Roosevelt. Friendships waned because the boys were not old enough to drive to visits with one another. There was along the Nassau Road one night in 1969. There's violence there. 200 black youngsters approximately attacked whites and damaged property. One person was shot, 2 others were stabbed, and 3 businesses were destroyed. But it sounds like this was an isolated incident.
Also, in 1969, don't you think you'd be a little pissed off with the United States if you were black?
Yeah, just a little bit. Like Martin Luther King has just been shot, and I mean, there's assassinations, political assassinations going on left and right. Okay. White flight became so widespread that records show almost every house on Conlon Road and adjoining streets changed over ownership in the late 60s. There was a near total transformation during the last few years in the neighborhood, Howard's family. As Howard told Newsday in 1983, almost every white person, every beautiful liberal white person moved out. My parents felt that they didn't want to run. They talked it over with me. I said, yeah, I definitely would like to remain in the community. We did that whole trip. Okay, that's his first take. And he said his tone was conciliatory. It was a very tough time. Blacks were really finding their own identity, their own music. I was into the Beatles. I had fights, but it wasn't so much with black kids as with lower class white kids. Yet it was definitely a good experience. So then Colfer goes on to explain how in the 90s he embellished all this bullshit to say that he was the only white kid in a black neighborhood, which is not true.
So you know what's so interesting about that is that's what I would have liked Howard to say during that Ed Bradley segment in 60 Minutes, because he was saying my parents wanted integration. They were liberal people. And it also, to me, didn't ring true with what he was saying. I was beat up because I was white. I don't know.
I was white. Good.
I was white. Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
what are you from?
You know? So I wish that he would have said this instead, because this rings truer to me.
Yeah. And the idea that the narrative changed just because it was convenient for him just sounds like if you wanted it to go that way, it sounds like you're the one that's got race on your mind.
Always. He always does. Are you kidding me?
And yet, Ben and Ray got along really well with their black neighbors. And in fact, what was explained in the book, that most of the blacks who moved into the neighborhood were as well off as the white people who left, or better off. They were they were well-to-do, middle class, upper and middle class black families moving in.
And listen to the book that's not written by Howard Stern, Colford, who's doing this obvious truth for his biography that Howard Stern signed off on, but then repented against. He is making an honest stance on what Howard thought about the neighborhood and the transition, and he did feel good about it. So he essentially turned on that narrative just to boost ratings and be divisive and make racism even more prevalent. I mean, that's sad.
Right. I mean, if you listen to the history of Howard Stern, even they interviewed some people that lived in the neighborhood, and they said they were crying, like Ben and Ray Stern were crying when they had to leave so he was only in Roosevelt High School for the 1 year of grade 9, and then they moved to Rockville Center. You would
think he was in there for the long term of a duration for 10 years or something.
Yeah, 10 years of high school because he was that stupid he couldn't pass. But also. Yeah, so when he did switch over, he was still like a nobody at the new school and a loser. And he said it was a Polish kid that punched him. Of course he
would be.
It wasn't anybody black. And then what was that video? Do you remember it was Channel 9 show or something where they were doing This Is Your Life and they actually got his teacher?
So I posted this on the old place, but of course that's gone. I posted the This Is Your Life stuff, and I individually commented on each one. So he had the college girl that was the supposed model in college that he was talking about, who was cute, but, she's not a model. And then they had Mr. Chestnut, the gym teacher, who said he wasn't beat up by blacks by any stretch of the imagination, and he tried to shut him up right away.
Yeah.
And then he also had, I believe it was
wasn't Dr. Lou. It would have been
it was a janitor or something. Okay. It was somebody else from the school.
Not Ted the janitor, but somebody from that era.
Yeah, and all these people from this era, and he was so nervous about it because it didn't echo the narrative that he was saying.
Of course not.
By any stretch.
Yeah. So all of a sudden you're being found out as being a complete fraud, and that's what that's why when you watch the 60 Minutes, guys, I hope you all did. We really enjoyed making it. I apologize for the problem with the audio syncing with the video, but thankfully it was only a short part of the video. That he's upset because the narrative that he's painting to Ed Bradley is not there in front of you. When you're filming all those houses in suburban 2005 Roosevelt, it looks like a normal suburb. It doesn't look. Sure, there are bars on some of the windows, but I guess that's common. I don't know.
You read some of the comments on our Facebook page. People were like, "If this is a bad neighborhood,
yeah, let me move there."
Yeah,
Bob,
some people like
Bob said something like, "We passed guys on bikes getting shot at. I would love to have moved there."
I decided to get on my high horse in college and move like near neighborhoods by my college with my 2 twin girlfriends and lived in an alley. I mean, it was awful.
Yeah. So
it wasn't.
So anyway,
Roosevelt looks nice.
It looks like different strokes. So first clip, number 1, King Baby needs the love of a good manatee.
I'm almost at the point that I don't even want to come down and do the show anymore. You hear me, Robin? Is your mic on?
Yes, it is.
Wait, can you pause this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we just heard he's at the point he doesn't want to do the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, funny enough, because we've heard this before, right? We've heard I don't want to do the show. It's awful. I can't be bothered.
I don't know if I can do this anymore. This is too rough for me. I can't climb roofs.
Right. It's
all too
horrible.
Much.
Okay. So he can't even go down to the basement now. It's such a hard walk for him to, go down. I can imagine. But in 2015, for his contract that he was considering, he said, Stern also said that he's exploring ways to get out of his 5-year contract with Sirius early after feuding with his bosses. He said, "I'm miserable. I just want to tear someone's head off. I think I'd be happier if I quit work. I think my agent said to me, even though I have a 5-year deal here, that after the 3rd year, I could actually leave. I think I want to leave. I have to do this year, and then I could get the fuck out of here. I want out."
He's been saying this for so fucking long that it never was a joke. I mean, it was a joke originally. Now it's just like him being completely honest. If it's not for them, I'm not.
It's a tease bullshit for us to be like, please.
Like, stick around. I might be gone. How many times? It's like a sequel where the character dies and keeps dying every single time and comes back. And then, like Bobby Ewing coming back from Dallas from the dead after getting shot. And like people going, nah. Eventually, people give up. They don't give a fuck. They stop giving a fuck.
Yeah,
and in his case, it's like the the total diminishing returns. Nobody cares anymore. No one wants that usual, because every contract year he was pretty much the same shit. I don't know if I can do this anymore. Beth wants to do this, and I'm telling you, he can't. He cannot retire. He cannot. He has to do something.
It would be like watching a porn, but nobody takes their pants off. I mean, just.
Babysitter porn. Okay, so let's go through this one.
Engrossed in reading something and wasn't watching you.
Guess what? We're on the air.
I see now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Normally, I don't even see you in our regular studio.
What does he mean he doesn't even see her? She's right across from him, except that he's got these banks of monitors in front of him. Maybe that's why he can't see her.
Hello, it's like SeaWorld. Just...
I gotta put that GIF on the website. I love that one. That was from the first Fox pilot show. So the next one is number 2. Robin thinks not talking about George Floyd was a public service. And I don't remember why I clipped it, but I'm sure I had a good reason.
I had a couple of thoughts, with all the racial tension going on to COVID-19. There's a lot to talk about. Sometimes I don't talk about it.
I thought we were doing a public service by being the only place that wasn't being discussed.
Oh, well, come on.
That's a public service. Did we not just hear the Rodney King? So when you had millions of listeners, that was a public service, right? You did the public a favor by telling the entire world that this man
we didn't want Marianne. We didn't want Marianne from Brooklyn to be distressed by the news if we told her.
I totally agree with you. I think that we should just talk about birds on the roof.
Number 3, Wiggy hates social media because it hates him.
Yeah, well, I didn't spend a lot of time on the whole situation with George Floyd. George Floyd.
Yeah, George
Doesn't sound
Floyd.
right, though. George Floyd.
Oh, my
Anyway,
God.
the guys were telling me, even Michael Rappaport was like, hey, I can never do anything right. I figured, well, what am I going to say about this horrible situation where a guy
Everything is
choked
being
out?
said.
Now, it's true in a sense. I unlike years before, I never hung on his every
You say
word anyway.
In a sense, I'm going to fucking punch you in the
Virtual. Well, the thing is, he back in the day, like we talked about this, it would have been kind of interesting to see what take they were going to have. You weren't hanging on to his word like whatever he says is going to be the truth, and there's nothing like that. It was more like, let's see what goes down when they come back to studio.
It was a
To not go into
provocative
this.
take. Because his
Absolutely.
take was the only take back then, especially
Right.
completely a provocative take. It was,
But Grandpa Skeleton here is not going to talk about it because, number one, he's not paying attention. He doesn't care, wasn't reading the news, wasn't watching the news. By his own admission, has spent most of the COVID-19, sort of self-isolation not watching the news because he claims it bums him out. So what's this going to do? I mean, unless has like popping popcorn and making an evening of watching the footage over and over again. I mean, and he's not being honest about it.
I think even less than being bored, I think he doesn't understand the news.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, unless it's read to him.
So Rappaport right away said, wow, Howard's not even talking about George Floyd. And I'm like, give me a fucking break. I can't win. It's so funny. I never read the social media comments about this show. I can't stand social media because I hate that people have power now. In the old days, if you hated me, you'd have to write a letter to the station.
Now no one's writing a letter. Do you know that they have people taking care of the Twitter account for him, right?
Of course they do.
Can you imagine what kind of a soul-crushing job that must be to be the Twitter handler and to actually have to go through all this negative shit and to come up with one positive one?
It would be like being HR.
Like answering phones, like text support for Sirius XM. People canceling subscriptions.
You have no idea. I am going
I have
through,
a little idea.
I just said to Fillmore, I have my app was on the fritz, which I don't know how else to describe it, and that sounds so old.
Yeah.
On the fritz. And so it was just
stilettos
blinking.
rolling over.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on with my app? So I called Sirius XM. They transferred my call and just never came back.
Here, let me get back to you.
I was at work and I had it on speakerphone on my phone in the background while I'm doing work and just forgot about it because the music was just going and I'm working. And I'm like, wait a minute, nobody's came back?
I should reminded me of a telemarketing experience. My wife was a telemarketer when she was just at university, just doing part-time work for a little bit. And she said one guy got fired because he got angry at a person he called for saying they were on their way to a funeral. He said something like, "You don't have to fucking lie to me and tell me you're going to a fucking goddamn funeral. If you don't want to buy the fucking newspaper, missus, just tell me." And of course, the call was being listened to by his bosses, so he got let go. You can imagine tech support at Sirius being like that, just ready to snap.
It's just it's a very good story.
Okay, so anyway, in this case, Twitter complains about 79's non-interest in current events. So,
but this whole thing, people were saying on social media, Jason was telling me this.
So Jason's the one's got to corral this shit because he was keeping an eye on what Robin was doing and probably reporting to Howard.
That when I started the show, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, some guy was writing on Twitter, "Jesus Christ, do me a favor." This is before the show started. He said, "Do me a favor. Let me know when Stern stops yapping about George Floyd."
And first of all, he never did. So I think that's bullshit. Then nobody ever said that. I don't buy that. Someone find that tweet.
Yeah, I'll be on the lookout. Let's keep going.
And I didn't know any of this. And so I opened the show talking to Marf on Mike. And Marf on Mike, I'm talking to him. And during that time, the guy tweets, can you believe this guy? With everything that's going on, he's talking to Marf on Mike?
Same guy.
He's same guy.
It's not the same guy. And I'm sure most people were thinking among the same thing. Like anybody who's actually still a fan was going, when's he going to talk about this? When?
Okay. The tweets that are on the Stern Show and Stern's personal account are all negative. I mean, the only one's positive. It's a 90-10 split.
And that's generous, I would say. Like that's you're actually the 10% is. I've seen some of those things. Robin got more positive thing for her tweets than he did for any of his, and the Stern Show one is really negative.
And like we said, her tweets came after the fact. He didn't bring it up. Wow, coincidence?
Absolutely. So number 5, would you like to read?
Oh my goodness. Grandpa Svi starts equating George Floyd.
I think I wrote George Lloyd because I had seen it misspelled somewhere, and I go, why not just call it George Lloyd for a moment?
No, that's perfect, because he would do the same thing. He barely remembered that name. Right. Grandpa Svi starts equating George Lloyd to Roosevelt white flight.
Yeah.
One guy, one or two guys are writing, oh my God, Stern sucks. There was a time when he used to get on the air and make fun of shows who did phony phone calls.
What?
So I start arguing, in my head with this guy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I know what you mean. The morning zoos would make these phony phone calls that went nowhere and they weren't
right.
Funny. I mean, because in my head, I think we're doing this great show, and then people complain about it.
In my head.
We're doing this great show.
It's only in his head, guys. I'm sorry. Let's continue.
Everything. And people, this social media, I guarantee you social media has ruined our country because there's so much ugliness. Yesterday with this, I don't know what they call I wasn't even aware that there was a Blackout Tuesday where on social media, the idea was if you're not a racist, if you're a great person, you
believe Black Lives Matter.
And you believe Black Lives Matter, you would post a black square and not post anything else on social media.
Okay, so and a lot of people were doing this. All kinds of people were doing different variations of it. But I think Facebook was too.
But every celebrity virtue signaling nonsense, like the one today, just like where they did "Imagine all the people," and it was like all these celebrities singing, like we're all in this together. Where you have like your nannies in your mansions, go fuck yourself, and so
absolutely.
Beth was like, I didn't even know about the social media blackout square. Like that's doing anything. By the way, it's not.
Pittsburgh strong.
So but she was quick to, tweet or, during that whole massacre, really be an unsensitive rube and posted a picture of herself modeling in a fucking Penguins jersey from goddamn 1989. Real sensitive, you fucking whore.
Right. During the it was a print. It was actually newsprint she had saved somewhere in the penny saver or whatever the fuck.
And she managed to pull that up like I don't even know. Like it was just sitting in a photo album right under her pillow. It was insane.
That's right. Yeah, so she had it at the ready.
So she realizes, I'm supposed to be doing something celebrity like a blackout square for Instagram. So hold on, let me take a picture of a blackout square with a heart around it. I'm going to screenshot it, and it's going to be somebody else's blackout square, and I'm going to screenshot it so you can see whose blackout square it is and post that on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a village, guys. It takes a village idiot to do this. So we continue, and Wiggy gets along with it.
Now, I'll tell you, I've had an interesting life. I don't say it was a great life, but it was an interesting life.
How great would your life be, Fillmore, if we had $500 million?
Oh, God. We was like the discussion. Like, I can't even imagine what I'd begin to start. Not even buying, just to take care of people. And I'd be making sure that I'd be doing I'd be traveling like a motherfucker.
What?
I'd have houses all over the world.
What a waste of wealth.
Totally, completely.
And any of these things always blow my mind because I had a very unique upbringing. I grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of white liberals.
Oh,
when I was
this fucking trope. So it's timely that we did the 60 Minutes thing, actually, because we had no idea this was going to happen. I think before we decided we were going to do the 60 Minutes thing, like we had no way of knowing he was going to bring this up in such a way.
Can I just?
It
read
always
some
comes back.
Tweets from
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I guess Howard really is in his basement, like Trump, and completely unaware that America is literally burning around him. What a wasted moment for you, Howard. Completely wasted. Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan, with his $100 million deal, is very telling. Howard Stern is not relevant. Listeners want more intelligent conversations. Called Sirius to take him off my account. Couldn't stand his bashing after listening to a couple of times. He's so full of himself. Mm-hmm. Seriously, I need a show like Oxygen, but opening with Mark Von Mike is so trite, it's uncomfortable to listen to. The country is literally burning. Howard, honest, real reactions to events would be so much more meaningful and entertaining.
Sure, absolutely. And then they'd take some callers, see what actually happens. In the old days, that's what they'd go straight to the phones.
Oh my God, he needs a diaper if that were to happen. He can't handle this.
No way.
Young kid. A lot of white liberals, and I've told this story before, but not in this context. The white liberals, and how did I know they were white liberals? It was in the 60s. And
because they were white. They were liberal.
Also, too, in this context, what do you mean? What context? You don't go outside of your fucking 17 squabble main mansion.
Right.
I don't understand what context you're talking about. Are you out there in these cities that you know what's going on? You won't even take calls.
Right. And the context doesn't change your story. Your story is the same no matter what, and it doesn't have any actual relative meaning to the George Floyd thing because you're not equating death with people moving away and inherent racism in people. They're two separate events, and then all the protests and the rioting is also disassociated from white liberals leaving one small section of Long Island, I think, and of Roosevelt, and equating and then conflating this and saying all people would move if a black family moved in next door. Why wouldn't the press be all over this unless he's not listened to? And we know that he probably that's exactly the reason why. It's not because he's paying off papers. It's because he can't get arrested.
Yeah, and I just wish the only thing that would be good is if Beefus just wanders out of her house to a rally. I just hope.
Stumbles into a rally. Okay, let's see.
Many of the people would openly tout their love of the black man and how we have to love our brothers and we have to love this one and that one. And even some of these white liberals were teachers in the school system. It was a very small community.
The way he also says it, these white liberals, as if to say he's not one, kind of admitting he's not one. And not too long ago, he did say, I guess I'm more Republican than anything. Of course he is. Anyway, regardless.
He doesn't know what he is.
No, whatever the wind blows.
My town was 1 square mile. And they would, some of the moms that I knew were actually substitute teachers and teachers in the school. And they would come in my classroom and talk about race, and they would talk about how we have to love our brothers, and all skin is the same, and it doesn't matter what's under the skin is what matters.
Yep, go ahead.
Newsflash, they still do this to this day on Martin Luther King. And do you not think that this sort of education goes on in schools? I mean, what are you talking about?
Well, you'd have to know you had children to know that.
Not the skin color. These all seem like very good messages. These white liberals.
They seem like good messages.
They are good messages.
Really. They seem like good messages.
And then it turned out the real estate developers wanted to sell a lot of houses. They wanted to flip the houses. So what they did was they brought a black family. And when I say a black family, I'm talking about an upwardly mobile black family.
He's going on about the blockbusting thing. He's going to bring it up, but he's not going to use the word. But go ahead.
This is racist in general, this conversation. So we're going to talk about how this is what you're using this opportunity to talk about is if you're going to give your interpretation on how blacks ruin neighborhoods. I mean, is that what you're doing right now? Are you fucking kidding me?
Right. He won't bring up the time he was taken to a black club where he was the only white person and he noticed it and he felt very odd. And he felt like that's really, an anecdote he wouldn't bring up.
Oh no, of course. Would he bring up P. Diddy's white party? Probably not. Look how you were dressed. And Beth, by the way, awful. I mean, Fillmore, we're talking about something that's culturally changing our society and our country right now, and this is what he's talking about. Is this same narrative, but he's shifting it, or he shifts it back and forth into whatever way he feels like. How can anyone listen to this and not just cringe?
Yeah, it's out of touch. It's really like your old senile grandfather talking about how, when they were in World War II and they were shooting at, insert racist epithet here, shooting at Japanese, calling them Japs or whatever the fuck. And then you kind of go, okay, all right, let's just let him get through it. And how Marcy Turk wouldn't be like beating down the doors and trying to tell him, shut the fuck up. Just stop talking about this as if, before you get yourself in real trouble here.
And as if you have some sort of background that gives you the leeway to even speak like this. You don't.
Right. No, exactly.
Because the houses cost they cost money. But they would sell a house on one of the blocks. They'd pick a block and sell it to a black family. Every single one of these white liberals, the ones who were the previous day preaching in school how we should live with one another, moved out in the middle of the night. As soon as they had a black neighbor. Now, I knew these black people. They were
every single one of them.
Every single one. What is this, the Grinch? Like,
it came without ribbons.
Yeah. In the middle of the night. Everyone. They were just all up the chimney. Down the
How many moving companies work 24 hours?
Fine people. They were nice people. Nice families. As soon as that black family moved into the neighborhood, quietly they had a family meeting and said, let's get the fuck out of Dodge before our property values go down. If they had all just kind of stayed in the neighborhood, nothing would have happened.
There would have been one black family there.
There would have been a black family there, and yes, they would have even practiced what they preached. They would love their black neighbors.
Okay, hold on for a sec. We're almost finished this clip, and then we can...
They would love their black brothers and sisters. But at an early age, I saw every single one of these white liberal families leave in the middle of the night because they were ashamed and embarrassed.
Okay, so even if this was true, again, what's the context with modern, like in 2020, with what's going on right now? That's the only racial issue that you can come up with in all these decades that you're going to bring up. You're not going to bring up your fucking Rodney King comments.
No, it's this narcissistic lexicon, which, by the way, he attributes this to saying, I watched this, but then he's going to go on 60 Minutes with Ed Bradley and say, yeah, I was a minority, and I was sad that I was left behind.
It was the House of Horrors, because I was stuck with all these black people.
So, which is it?
Yeah.
Which narrative do you want, buddy?
So this is more number 6, bullshit about being the only white kid and getting beat up. Oh, hold on.
I remember my mother sitting me down and saying...
Second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And like you just said, what does this have to do with police brutality and what happened to George Floyd? The fact that in the 60s, white people moved away when black people moved into your neighborhood.
Yeah, and exactly.
Why are you commenting on this in a way that makes you some sort of social justice warrior because your family stayed, like you at 13 had anything to do with your real estate transactions or where you lived? I mean,
he's not even But he's not even going down that route. It would be almost acceptable if he said, "Look, my family, like they are very very proactive and really liberated, and like no, we tried to stay in the neighborhood. We wanted to show people that this is the way to go. You must stand up and stand with your black neighbors." But that's not where he was going. He started doubling down, as you'll hear, guys, and saying like, no. If you have black people, trust me. If you get a black family, we're moving. Like, so if a black couple moves into 16 Squabble Lane, they're getting out of Dodge.
It's so bad.
It's awful. It's telling. It's so telling, and you just hear the silence.
Look at these people.
And by the way, his co-host is black. Speak up. You're sitting here blind raging on Twitter. Grow a sack, you cancer-ridden cow, and fucking speak up.
Exactly. So tell him what for. No.
And they do another. And if they just stayed here, they would have a beautifully integrated community. They'd have a few black families in a sea of white families. How lovely.
Oh, good. You can make the next Sim City, you fucking idiot.
Every one of them left. And I became very sensitive to this because every one of them were my friends. You know, my friend. The kids were. The parents were all fakes.
He had no friends. Nobody talked to him, right?
Right. Exactly. Which way is it going to go? He had friends. He didn't have friends. Oh, they moved out. They moved away. Okay, well, some stayed, some didn't. Okay, fine. And the blacks that did move in, you got along with for the most part. That's all we've been told, actually, from years of corroborative evidence from people that used to live in the neighborhood. Listen to the history of Howard Stern, guys. You'll get all the real facts there from other people, not him.
And bullshit artists. And one thing I'll say about my parents, I always admired them because they were liberals. They believed in a pro-gay agenda. They put their money where their mouth was.
Except for me.
Yeah, except for cousin Stacy.
God forbid. And
his
GoFundMe.
I said I'm not afraid of black people. I don't see anything wrong with black people, and we are going to stay in this black community. We are not going to move. I was proud of them for that, but I also hated them for it.
I know, because I was going to say, you were the one who wanted to move.
I had to get out of there because
And I just read you the Colford book, the excerpt from the Colford book. He didn't want to move out. He said it to him back when it was convenient, back when it was really him saying what he believed was what we're pretty sure was the truth. It's only later on when the narrative decides to change. Oh no, I wanted to get the fuck out. It was hell. I was in like Harlem Goes to Cotton, or Cotton Goes to Harlem, or whatever the fuck. It was sweet back. It's all bullshit. He's such a fucking liar. I can't stand it.
I can't stand it either. You're right. I have a hard time when we do these sort of clips because it really is enraging that somebody that was so such an influencer and affected so many people is such a full of shit piece of shit. And every day infected that narrative into people's lives, and it meant nothing because it wasn't real.
Right, and I mean, there's a difference between racial and racist humor, and so he was always the fucking sledgehammer. He was never a scalpel, and so when you watch those blackface bits of him as Clarence Thomas or the Ted and Whoopi thing, which by the way, most people don't understand the fucking context. The Friars Club roasts are secret; they're private. You go in there; they're never recorded. What happened was Montel Williams was there at the Whoopi Goldberg roast. And she was dating Ted Danson at the time, and he went up in blackface, and he did, by all the reports, he did get the stuff written by Whoopi. He's not a comedian, so she wrote all this stuff for him to do in blackface. People laughed, but Montel Williams was really upset, and he went to the press and said all about it. So it was in the tradition of the Friars Club is black, white, whatever. You go in there, you do not talk about what goes on in the Friars Club. It's not meant for the public. It got out. And I think Montel Williams did it also for publicity, to be honest with you, because he was, his show was not exactly number one at any one point. And then Howard decides, okay, we're going to make a parody of this. And so it's just a fucking perfect springboard for me to go and use the N-word as much as possible. And it's one of the most unfunny things you could imagine then or now. I didn't laugh when I saw it originally, and I certainly wouldn't laugh now. A friggin' fried chicken and Colt 45 right there on the table in front of you in case you didn't get it, guys.
I don't like woke culture that cancels people the way that
Same.
they are now. So I think
Yeah.
that mob mentality is just so annoying. And this hashtag, the party's over, Jimmy Fallon, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't get that. I'm not.
Right. We're not
But
down with
if
that.
we're going to be doing that, and this guy is still
Skates.
going to be making millions in skates, I have a problem with that.
Absolutely. That's the whole thing, guys. Where it's not that we're offended by that.
I'm not
It's
offended. I'm offended
No.
by the fact that fairness isn't fair, and this grandpa closet queen gets to keep making millions while other people and other comedians have to lose their Saturday Night Live gig or lose
whichever
their
gig.
show, whatever.
Yeah, it's ridiculously awful. And so
You were not a liberal.
Well, I could not handle it. I'll be honest with you, and I say this. It was a horrible experience for me because I was beaten and ostracized, and because I was the only white guy in the school, and I got in a lot of fights. Not over anything I did. It's just because I was white.
That's such bullshit.
Really? We're still going for that. Why don't you? He might as well just put a Star of David on him and get roped up. I mean, in a cart and just carried away, because that's the way he makes himself seem. What a piece of shit.
And of course, we know Ben and Ray are no longer around to listen to this and rebuke him and say, like, no, that didn't fucking happen. Stop it. You're all full of shit.
Well, now that the gay's getting more amped up, don't you think that Ben's on the ropes, Ray's on the ropes? He's going to be coming out as bi or something soon?
Well, actually, this is the thing, guys. We were only going to do up to the 3rd, and then just yesterday's show was so flamingly awful. And when Chris Wilding called in and Ralph called in, and they had this, I haven't even heard it yet, but it was explained to me by Raven and a few other people, and I was desperately trying to get obtain it so I could cut it up for today, but just won't be able to, and because I couldn't get it. And she asked me that question. She said, do you think Ben and Ray are on the ropes? And I think Ben, he's made noises that Ben is not in great shape, which we could guess pretty well.
I mean, when you're like almost 100.
Yeah, well, you don't expect, once you get your letter from, I don't know, when the States, when you turn 100, where do you get a letter from? From the president?
I don't know. I just remember I remember, what is it? The old guy who used to do the You're 100 with the Today Show, the guy, and he'd have the Smuckers, and he'd say, here's who turned 100. Andy Rooney.
On the tip of my
Wasn't it Andy Rooney?
Yeah, possibly.
I think it's Andy Rooney, and he would do and he would say you're 100, and he'd say presented from Smuckers, and it would be like a little.
Well,
yeah.
Either way, I know in England when you turn 100, the Queen sends you a letter.
Wow, that's a lot better.
Yeah, and then in Canada, I think it's either the governor, the lieutenant governor, or the governor general. I think it's the lieutenant governor sends it to you in lieu of the Queen. But either way, the question is he going to come out? I still don't think he's going to come out anytime soon, whether Ben and Ray drop dead tomorrow or not, whether he poisons their oatmeal or not. You think he's aiming towards it?
I think he's
coming out as bi.
I think he's coming out as bi and then fully blown gay.
Okay, he's going to ease his way into it.
He's easing it. I'm telling you, he's easing it.
All right, so bullshit continued, 6B.
I remember my mother sitting me down and saying, look at these people. They say one thing and they do another. And if they just stayed here, they would have a beautifully integrated community.
So it's more of the same horse shit. So I'm going to go instead to clip number 7. The Reverend Svi Sharp Tongues preaches from the tolerance pulpit.
I admired that. So when I see Whitey, with his
sending out the black screen,
I sit there and I go, it's a beautiful sentiment. Don't get me wrong. And people are upset. And as I am, I mean, the image of this guy being choked out when he's in handcuffs makes no sense to me. as it does. I mean, I don't know if it does make sense to you, then there's something wrong with you, but I just know.
It made sense to him when Rodney King was getting the living shit kicked out of him for being drunk driving.
Right, exactly.
The reality. If you took any of those people, most of those people who put up the black squares on their, that was their big contribution on Twitter. If they move a black family next door to them, they will sell their homes and get the fuck out of Dodge.
Fuck.
Now that's
well,
reality.
The other thing was.
Okay.
Okay, that is beyond so stupid. I mean, I can't. How is that
racism.
helping or quelling this sort of? Okay, so you didn't talk about it for all this time, and now you're being put to the forefront. Your feet are held to the fire, let's say, and you're going to talk about this. Now you're talking about this in the sense that of 1968, when families moved out of your neighborhood where you were there for a few years, and then you're going to fast forward and say you would move if black people moved
later.
next to you. Why? Just like you did? What are you talking about? And how is that helping?
Because eventually they did move. Yes, the Stearns did move on the advice of their black friends said you should go. Because it's not getting better.
What is this, 1965? What are you talking about?
Right. Well, I mean, the fact I was going to say the fact of the matter is the tie-in is nonsensical. It's like it's completely illogical. That's what he's going to bring you as some kind of racial anecdote. That's his experience with race.
No, he feels offended that Beth was snubbed or called out to the forefront on social media, which is nonsense in general, that she was not being aware of the blackout of the black square on social media. So to mitigate that, he's going to he's going to say, well, guess what? Even though we didn't do this black square in a timely fashion, the way that the Instagram mob wants us to, well, I didn't move away from black people. I stayed for extra years than you did. And by the way, you would move too, Tom Hanks.
Right.
I mean,
so number 8.
I have a wet dream speech.
You got to shut your fucking mouth, because all you whiteys who have never once put your money where your mouth is. If I put a black family next to you in their home, you think you would stay in your house. But I'm telling you, I've seen reality. I saw it happen to an entire town. You will move. You'll blame it on this or that or the other thing. Just
what
silence.
year are we in?
There's a lot of race problem in America, and there's a lot of phony-ass liberals.
We're talking to one. We're listening to one.
You're not even a liberal. What year are we in?
Yeah, phony liberal. Number 9. Nobody home, Howard. Go ahead.
Nobody home, Howard. Stop knocking and go away.
Right. Well, here's what you do if you're a white person. When a black family moves next door to you, just don't rush out that night.
Go ahead.
Stop a second. I got to get a pen and a paper.
Okay.
No, I have to take notes.
Okay, I was going to say, you want to take a note?
You give it a week. Try it out.
Well, you know who doesn't leave? Conservatives.
Oh.
I have always wound up in these conservative areas. Nobody goes.
Now Robin is going to chime in with her tales of moving woe.
No, you got that wrong. I point out the white liberals in the town that I grew up, but there were a lot of other white types.
Go ahead.
These two have no idea what's going on.
No conception. And meanwhile, if you read Robin's book and you read the race aspects, you'd figure she'd be the one, because she touts it so much, that she'd be the one taking him to task, but she's not going to. Even now in this her weakened state, and she's more like in the realm of, fuck him, I'm dying anyway, I'll do whatever the fuck I want, and I'll say what I like. She still doesn't do it.
She does it on Twitter. That's about it, but it's barely.
Barely, exactly.
It's there, too. And they hightailed it fast, too.
They were faster than the
you believe me. I tell you, when I say this, this is the God's honest truth.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is how conflated this is. So you're telling me the fact that they didn't bring up police brutality and murder against an African American person, being called out on that, their choice for these next clips that we're playing are to talk about how white people moved out of neighborhoods in 1960 something.
Yes, that's exactly correct. Right.
All right, just making sure.
I lived an interesting life. I would knock on my neighbor's door or a friend's door on my way to school, and I would open the door, and a black family would be living there.
How
now,
the
day before,
family move in so fast?
everything happens like in the middle of the night. Or I would knock on the door, and the white family was gone. You knock on the door, the house was boarded up. That was the end of it.
It was boarded up like it was a slum all of a sudden.
It is literally the racist Grinch.
Yeah, basically. And so
and they even
it's all bigoted.
Can of who hashed to, motherfuckers.
It's bigoted projection. So number 10, Bo knows sports. Zvi knows penis.
But here's the ultimate chutzpah: the Redskins, the baseball team.
When he must have been cringing. Did you hear this at the time? Because your Sirius was working at that time. He was going on about football and fucked it up.
I can't. I'm cringing already.
Okay.
Tweeted out a black square with the hashtag Blackout Tuesday. The Redskins, who refused to change their name.
Team. Yeah.
The football team, rather. What did I say? Baseball?
Baseball.
So, yeah.
Oh, my God. It's still annoying. I can't. Because I just think about all the clips, and I thought about, oh, my God, they did the betting and the whole thing, and he pretended he likes sports, and he's straight when Artie was on.
Oh, totally, yeah.
But the Redskins... The Redskins. You get the irony in this, or do I have to spell it out for you? They tweeted out a black square with hashtag Blackout Tuesday.
And what is the name of that logo of theirs?
Chief, isn't that Chief Wahoo or something?
Wahoo? What does he own? Is it a parent company of Yahoo.com? You fucking moron.
All right, so
go ahead. So this is what they think racism is. They're going to say that, the Redskins, that baseball team, maybe it's a football team, they put a blackout square. How dare they? Because they are still called the Redskins.
Right, we're going to point out some hypocrisy.
That's real racism, right? Okay.
Right. That's even more relevant right now.
That's worse than somebody killing someone on cement.
That's topical. Okay, number 11, projected racism from Wiggy.
I have to tell you, it's going to take a little more than blacking out your Instagram. And I guarantee you, 98% of the people who blacked out their Instagram who are white would move out in the middle of the night, just like Sal's family. So don't start thinking Sal's father is different than you.
Because at that point, they brought in Sal's dad. They talked about Sal's dad being incredibly racist, but, Howard isn't, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
So, and then you're 98% of those people. So all the people you're friends with?
Yeah, pretty much. Marco Battaglia, who, he's sheltering a black family as we speak. Let's see. Number 12, beating the moving van story to death.
But so I'm particularly sensitive about racial issues and the hypocrisy I've seen, particularly with my...
Oh, my God.
The same guy who did the blackface how many fucking times?
You might as well have Joseph Goebbels say he's sensitive about... he's sensitive
the plight of the Jews.
About sitting Shiva. Give me a fucking break.
White liberal friends, and I know their hearts, at least they think, are in the right place, and they really do think. It's the
execution. It's actually doing something that they can't get to.
Right. When I see especially friends of mine who have never encountered a black person,
he doesn't have friends.
He was nervous. Didn't you just hear? He would get paranoia going to dinner with Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're friends. I think we're friends.
Community.
Yeah.
They have no black friends.
No
they're
black
liberal,
friends.
But they have no black friends.
And when I see them posting their outrage, which, I share, believe me, I share it. Anyone who sees those images is outraged.
Yeah, believe me.
But I know the hypocrisy behind their outrage.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know what I think we need, Howard?
What's that?
You should get Gilbert Gottfried in vampire makeup, and you should say, "Do you think?" That George Floyd.
George Floyd will come back to bite the dead flesh of the living.
Because that's how racially sensitive you are to everyone's plight.
Exactly.
Yes, they're outraged, but they're also going to move out in the middle of the night. So,
who are these movers that are 24/7? I've heard of pharmacies that are 24/7, grocery stores, McDonald's in some areas.
Right.
I've never heard of a 24/7 only if black people move in moving company. What is this called? OJ's coming? Let's move out.
Yeah, the moving company's called You're in a Tough Spot. Number 13. Okay, quivers to set white America straight.
Well, I'm going to actually do an op-ed piece. I hope it'll get into the New York Times. I hope they have the guts to
really
actually post it or publish it to talk about what
Sam has completely covered her face in her cap.
Racism is, because people don't really know what it is. They don't think that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. We'll edit this out.
That's it for me.
They're racist, but they would move out if a black family moved in.
Right.
So, people don't really know when they're racist. So I'm going to start telling.
She's going to start telling them.
Do you think Robin's going to start telling people?
Remember, she was discriminated against in at the U.S. Open, if you'll all recall. It's on my channel as well. There's
when she was
throwing out the N-word at U.S. Open, because she overstayed her day tickets and they called her the N-word.
Yeah, that's because she had her grifter friend that she tried to fuck, who fucked the other person at the show, Anne-Marie. Yeah,
yeah. Was it the Office clam? The Office pincushion, Anne-Marie.
Hey, I'm on.
Thanks, man. This is so surreal, bro. I've been listening to you for the past 20 years, Robin. I love you.
Thank you.
Here's my thing. Okay. Now, the past 3 days, bro, I have not yet hear you say the name George Floyd.
I just said it.
And then...
a couple of times.
Hold on.
Oh.
And then, Robin, now you had the greatest energy I've seen on Twitter in a long time the other day, but it seems like my boy Howard.
Now, he's going to go into a little bit about how it's prompted him. And, Howard's trying to say, I just mentioned George Floyd. What do you want from me? But it's been days.
He put that powder to your ass, and it's like, you didn't give that same energy on your platform on air, and I just want to know what the hell is going on.
Could you imagine 9/11 happening and he doesn't mention it for
people seem to forget
5 days a week?
People seem to forget the 9/11. He was asking Tom, Tom, can we go? Can we leave now? He wanted to leave that fucking day. And if we replay the original broadcast, he was doing whatever he could to get the fuck out. And I don't blame him. I would have been scared shitless.
Oh my God, I would have been terrified. I actually love that. Those 2 days, 9/11 and 9/10 and 01, but that's a very long time ago.
The only douchey part to me was actually listening to him talk about how we just need to bomb random Muslim countries. Okay,
we know where they are. We know where they are. You don't even know where you lived when you were a kid. You think you're finding terrorists? You can't even find your old house.
He can't find a G-spot on any woman. Just witness any Sibian ride where he goes, did she come? Did it happen?
Well, I told you I'm on. Like I told you when I got on, George Floyd, what happened to him is beyond even comprehension. It's a horrible thing.
Now, do you hear that sort of the William Shatner-esque pauses where he's going, I don't know. In his mind, you can hear him going, don't step in shit, don't step in shit, don't step in shit. I don't know if it's so much he doesn't want to talk about it, part he's too dumb, or part he's afraid, like, I'm afraid this Rodney King thing's going to come back to me and the blackface. And now this weekend, by the way, we're going to talk about it. Hopefully, this could be an issue for him, talking to this caller.
Also, too, because Robin was blind rage on Twitter and just, not saying anything in person. But I think if he keeps on this topic, that will provoke Robin, and he does not want to poke that sleeping bear.
He doesn't want to poke that chemo sack and say, like, oh, Jesus, what's coming out of this?
The man was handcuffed. He was already on the ground. There was no need to put a knee on his neck. That's it. That's the bottom line.
And instead of just yapping about something, maybe you want to take a couple of days and get some perspective.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. So
yes, the perspective I want is I want George Floyd's story in my rearview mirror as small as it can get. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I want King of All Blacks to tell me.
To call in with a connection like his voice is coming through a copper pipe in the plumbing.
And see, exactly, here's the difference. 9/11, he had people on the ground in their homes, callers, police officers, everything you could think of calling in. And he was just fielding calls from all walks of life that day. It was incredible. And what is he doing for this?
He's contemplating his next thought. And hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Spock, you're not a soul. You're not a Starfleet officer.
Well, not only that. My point about telling you about white liberalism and my particular situation, what I've seen, the reality of what I've seen is that a lot of the white people expressing outrage are phonies. They won't live next door to you.
Go ahead.
What he's seen, he just said he hasn't been on a man town in his bedroom for months. What he's seen, he barely sees the other half of his house.
He's just expecting. You think he might be signaling? He might have a Beth button on the desk where he's going, "Come in, knock yourself in, knock your foot on the table, so I can get out of this conversation." Look, what did you do? Oh, sorry, Iman. I'm on whatever this guy's name. I gotta get. Oh, Beth just hurt herself. I didn't know you were recording. I'm sorry. I thought the show was over. It's 6:05. Oh, I'm sorry. So there's no way he can get out of this. He's so uncomfortable. It's just scary.
That clock in my room has Roman numerals. I'm confused.
It says it's one V o'clock.
That's the bottom line. You're a black man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You move into a white neighborhood. You move into a white neighborhood. People will run the fuck out of that neighborhood. All the ones who are and carrying on. That's it, on. I know it. I've seen that. I've seen it up close.
Thank you, Stern. Thank you so much for that. The next clip is number 15. Robin, the queen of all shitty analogies, strikes again.
It's like the opposite of cockroaches. Cockroaches run when the lights go on. Right. These white liberals run when the lights go off.
Okay.
Do we really want to tackle this one?
You know what? I'll just let that sit there. That's good, Robin. You're helping.
Yes, you're helping cause. Black people are like cockroaches, right? Let's play it again.
It's like the opposite of cockroaches. Cockroaches run when the lights go on. Right. These white liberals run when the lights go off.
And the NAACP award goes to. Okay, hold on.
I want her to be on like a Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion and just have them beat the fuck out of her.
Number 16, racism solved.
But you want to stand with your brothers. Then put your money where your mouth is. When you buy a house, stay in the neighborhood, even if a nice black family moves in. That's going to change the world. There you go. All right, Aman. I'll try to make you happy today.
Guys, this never would have happened if you just stayed in the house. Didn't move.
Do you think Malcolm X feels good?
It's just like that one Sam Kinison line. Apparently, what would he do if Martin Luther King saw Webster and Mr. T? You mean I took a bullet for this? This is why they shot me? Please read number 17.
The evolved feminist. I am so befuddled. The evolved feminist with a discourse on the merits of fucking Kellyanne Conway. I remember this.
Ended the problem.
Howard, long time, first time.
Thank you.
More importantly than all of this, how do I vomit on the air from saying that you would fuck Kellyanne Conway?
Well, I don't know. I've heard guys. I think you would fuck her, David. I do. I really.
Honestly, do you not? My gag, like my reflex.
Your gag reflex, yeah.
Every single time he mentions fucking women, because it sounds so forced. Yeah, it really fake. Is like, I don't know. It's like going to your annual OBGYN. Nobody likes it.
So he's going this clip. He goes on about how she's still considered fuckable by a lot of people. Well, I guess a crack in the wall is also considered fuckable by some people. But she looks like something out of Madame Tussauds wax museum. She's not sexy in any way, shape, or form. I'm sorry, guys. I would fuck sand before I fucked Kellyanne Conway. Not that I have such lofty standards, but she's what's he going on about this for? Is that because the only name he knows?
I don't know. It's just like how he was with the other ones, Huckabee Sanders. Remember?
Oh, wait. Yeah, but no. But what's her name? The one, the one up in Alaska. What's her fucking name?
Palin.
Palin, that's the one. Yeah, and he went on this whole diatribe about how you'd totally fuck her. You'd fuck her. Okay, we get you. You're straight, Howard.
I think again you're a phony.
I know I wouldn't.
I'm
more into black and Spanish women to begin with, so even if she was like 20 years younger, I probably wouldn't fuck her. But now, I mean, she looks like rigor mortis is setting in. I mean, she's like a skinny skank.
What does this have to do?
It just came about. You're talking about George Floyd, and now the merits of fucking Kellyanne Conway seems to come up into the show from the evolved feminist.
This would be like you. I don't know, telling me about a suicide in your family and I bring up flatulence. It's just like, what are you talking about?
Guys talk big on Twitter. They go, this one's ugly. I follow Emily Ratajkowski. Whenever she's in a new bikini.
I follow her. And he never gets that name right, as far as I know. Go ahead, Sam. Let everybody hear. He follows her.
Emily Ratajkowski.
What, you don't believe he's 110, 112% hetero?
Just throw your fist up in the air, Howard. You're such a...
Yeah.
Well, wait a sec. Yeah, of course you fuck her. You go on Twitter or Daily Mail or anything. You read the comment. She's ugly. Look at her belly button. She's a fucking moron. Look
who says this about that Emily Ratajkowski or whatever her name is.
Emily Ratatouille. The negative comments on Instagram superstar Emily Ratajkowski. Why would he be looking at that?
That don't actually exist.
Look at how disgusting she is. I wouldn't fuck her with your dick. I read one. I'm like, are these guys nuts? I don't say she's a rocket scientist, but you would fuck her.
So he went from Kellyanne Conway, the fuckability of her, to people complaining about how ugly and unfuckable Emily Ratajkowski or whatever the fuck her name is. And
we'll call her M. Rata. That's what she says on her Instagram. So M. Rata, by the way, I wouldn't fuck her with your dick. That's what he said about Paris Hilton. So that line was never actually spoke about M. Rata. It's just him repeating something he said, I don't know, 10 years ago.
10 years earlier, yeah, exactly.
Dare you lie?
Of course. Emily Ratajkowski, of course.
And I know guys. I've seen what guys fuck. They would fuck Kellyanne Conway in 2 seconds. I've seen up again. Everyone's being fake. They don't live next door to black people, and they would fuck Kellyanne Conway.
Way to tie it together.
I can't, even in my most depraved thoughts of, not my thoughts. I wait, hold on. I can't. I'm short circuiting.
Try your best.
How can you compute this racial injustice with Kellyanne Conway's fuckability with M. Rada, a social media star, to now back again? We're circling the roundabout to back to black people not living in the neighborhood and white people moving out. How is this happening all at once? This is such an awful smoothie. Can you imagine what this tastes like? If this were a smoothie, it would be anchovies, mango, fucking protein powder, and shit.
Coriander. Cumin.
Oh my god. Okay. Kale and fucking piss.
Number 18. I guess he wasn't fucking a model in college.
In college, I had sex with a lot worse than Kellyanne Conway. A lot of people I was with had a busted helmet, like myself. And listen, these women were desperate. They had sex with me, and I was desperate, and I had sex with them. It was equal desperation.
Desperate time.
And I know desperation.
Paging Woody Belkin's stat. Can we find out once and for all if he was fucking a model in college or not?
Can we call the Wilmette train that wasn't running all the time? See who the operators.
How about the next one? Poor Robin recounts her tale of racist woe.
Well, you don't know the horror of one day you've grown up with people, and the next day when they're out with some friends that don't know they have black people in their neighborhood, and they refuse to acknowledge you because they don't want to let anybody know they know black people.
It couldn't be because they just thought she was a fucking idiot. Go ahead.
Wait. I had to do the math on that conversation. So what did you say? You wait till you know people what?
Wait till you know people who... hold on. Let's start it back.
Because I'm not understanding that what you just said, actually.
Well, you don't know the horror of one day you've grown up with people, and the next day when they're out with some friends that don't know they have black people in their neighborhood.
So that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. The people that don't know they have black people in their neighborhood. The person that you just said you knew.
No, she just said wait till the horror of you know people who know people who have friends. That's like saying you know. What are you talking about?
Well, she's trying to tie it into the story she told in her book about this friend that all of a sudden wouldn't give her the time of day. And she goes, she came to the realization as a child, oh, it must be because I'm black. And that's the way she wrote it in her book.
Or because you're a pompous cunt.
Yeah, she has no friends throughout the whole book.
And they refuse to acknowledge you because they don't want to let anybody know they know black people.
Right.
I had that happen. Kids I'd known since kindergarten who suddenly stopped talking to me.
Yeah, it wouldn't be because you're a fucking twat. Number 20. Can you read number 20?
King Baby misses his tissue and toothpick tutor.
I used to be a big-time radio DJ who had his own studio and people who took care of my every need. I used to have a tissue replenisher in the studio.
There was somebody who even manned the...
Can you imagine there was a whole swath of guys that's all their job was, like to replenish the tissue and have it ready?
Did they move from the neighborhood?
Like a royal page?
Tissues for you.
Yeah. And now I sit here in my basement with my little setup, and I look at that empty tissue box and I go, oh.
Who was supposed to fill this?
I'm going to be like, I'm not going to have any tissues because I'm not going to replace it. Maybe.
Oh my god!
And the sad music starts. Coming up, Howard refills the tissue.
Beth will come down here and notice my tissue box is empty. But it would require me to go upstairs, find a box of tissues and walk all the way down here, and I'm not going to do it.
Oh, that was so easy, Howard. Come on.
I'm a guy who used to have a tissue replacer, and now
oh my God.
I don't have.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that someone was on the payroll to replace fucking Charmin? Like what? Or Kleenex?
Maybe that was Heidi Cortez's job. Tissue time.
I can't.
So it's gonna go in a while.
And we're listening to this guy and Robin, who's coaching him through not having tissue replacements, as we should listen to them.
The shower. He's in the fetal position in the shower because he has
Tissues in my basement. I have no girl to replace my water. I have no dude to shush the staff. I even had a toothpick replacer. And now I'm in my basement alone. Are you happy, Corona, what you've done to me? I'm a celebrity. I'm not supposed to be getting my own tissue box.
I'm sure this is going to get cut out because of the music, but we'll try it anyway.
You know what kind of
should Mark Ronson work on this with him?
Oh my God, he might as well be fucking. I can't even imagine like what he should be. Artie's dad.
Quadriplegic.
Here I
am. That was the saddest move you've ever made when you took the empty tissue box out of the holder.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You poor thing.
Robin, how sad is this?
Go ahead. I'm gonna play a little more just to see.
My tissue box.
You imagine if I saw some intern replace toothpicks.
But I had to do it like running. You know how the ball boys and ball
like
girls
a ball
have to rush, get the balls and rush back to the ends. Yeah. Same thing with him. They gotta go. There's like a 10-second. Do it in 9.2 seconds or get the fuck out. You're fired.
These have aloe vera. Go fuck yourself. You're fired.
Throw them.
Do you know I made my own breakfast today? I used to have someone who got my yogurt and raisins and granola and Metamucil all in a bowl.
You're going to remember all that stuff when you do go back.
3:24 screen cap.
We're asking this guy what to do with racial relations, and he's fucking putting. He can't even put yogurt in a bowl.
Or
they better.
Have to be a lot of retraining.
You're not kidding. We're probably going to have to fire everyone and start with new people. Do you know I had a guy who came in every morning and checked the studio temperature to make sure it was what I liked? And now I'm freezing and I'm too lazy to get up and change the temperature myself.
Okay.
You better get off on that roof and get the bird off.
Oh shit!
I feel more. I can't breathe.
You know what? I realized we skipped out of something that we were supposed to cover, but maybe we'll put it in the next.
What? He can't open his eyelids in the morning.
No, but the K-Rock swag. He did a tour of his stuff, like all the shit, the guitars on the walls. We'll have to add that to the next one, and we'll have to wrap this one up pretty soon. Do you want to wait on? Do you want to continue a little longer just to finish because we have about 10 clips left?
Oh, I don't give a shit. This is hilarious. I'm dying.
Okay, keep going with the song.
Oh my God, and my house is falling apart.
What?
Last night, yeah. I don't know about you, but everything. This is what I was afraid of. All right, turn off that fucking piano music. By the way, I made my bed this morning again. Never had to do that. Yeah, good for you.
This show's never been funnier.
Good for you.
Things are not falling apart as fast as you think.
Oh, my God. You have no idea. Like, lights yesterday were...
Wait. They are. Just wait. My wife's going to come and break a fucking hip with litter coming down the stairs trying to pet a cat who hates her and is running away.
I found out there was a
what was that all about?
There was a power outage in my neighborhood, and then what it did was it fucked up everything. It blew out a whole bunch of systems, so now we can't turn the lights on, we can't get the shades down. You know, it's just like things are just falling. And then, like yesterday, Beth goes,
when my automatic shades don't come down anymore, I have to pull on them.
The power went off. Oh my God!
It's like trench warfare in World War I.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I think we have to go up to the attic and find the
oh no, not the attic!
You know, the fuse box. And I'm like, oh.
Well, there aren't fuses.
Oh my God!
Yeah, whatever it is.
You know what I'm thinking of? When you just said that we're gonna have to go up to the attic. I'm thinking of the intro to "Are You Afraid of the Dark" on Nickelodeon. It's like, it was like they just had like this ominous music, and it would just be rocking boats in the thing, and then they'd go up to the attic, and it was creaky.
See, this is where if he was telling a story like 10, 20 years ago, Fred would have to drop. He would have that music ready, but no.
Circuit breaker. Yeah, I go, what?
A circuit breaker? He
I want
doesn't know
to
what
take a
that
nap.
is. Are you
I'm just on a 3-hour grueling radio show.
He doesn't know what it is.
So, nobody has sympathy for me.
Did you go up there?
No. I went right to bed. I couldn't handle it. I don't care. I let the fucking lights all go out.
So
I live in a cave.
Lower the shades?
Oh my God. He has the circuit breaker? I mean, what is he, Benjamin Franklin with a kite and a fucking...
I need a circuit breaker tutor.
I am shocked at how stupid he is all the time.
Number 21, a horse fishes for compliments.
It's just that the world... Oh, here's my wife, the First Lady of the United States.
Howard!
Oh, honey,
the
where
First
did you
Lady's
get
bringing
tissues?
you tissues.
Where did I get tissues?
Where do you find them? How did you have them?
If you were on the air to bring down your strawberries, and I heard you saying you didn't have
That's the
tissues.
Brent Hatley music.
Yeah, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And he's no longer...
They had the Brent Hatley Mare music. That's the Brent Hatley music.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Cute my wife's shirt is. What is that, a rabbit?
I love it.
With pearls on. Isn't that cute? Wow.
Can Robin see me?
Yep.
Can you see me?
Hi there.
Oh, hi.
I love you in glasses. Beth,
We're not on the air, are we?
yes.
Oh,
She knows he's on the fucking air. She just said.
Do you not know how to tell time, honey? It's the hours is the shorthand and the minutes are the longhand.
You know.
I swear on Bianca, I did not know.
I swear on the pool anchor that is our bulldog that I didn't know.
I love my first pet, Moses. He died when I was 15 peacefully on the stairs of our family steps, and I never swear on his life.
Really?
I did not know. I thought you were finishing that anyway. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
I don't look good.
You look good. You look damn good. Good Lord. If you had told me in high school that I'd be sleeping with you every night, I would have fallen off my chair.
What else do you need?
Hey, wait a minute. I think I've heard that before. Every year that you try to pretend you're straight.
You know what I mean?
Thank you. What else do you need?
With a
You know what I
compliment.
mean?
Did you know you're the First Lady of the United States now?
You told me last night.
Yeah. And you're not dressing appropriately.
I know,
You should be
sorry.
like dialed up for this is great.
Go ahead.
I'm the First Lady of the United States. I am? I'm not dressing appropriately? What do you mean? Only my overalls covered in litter and catch it? What?
Can you read number 22?
Oh, yes, I can. Mike from Maine dropped some basic podcast studies on Wiki.
Hey, Mike. This is Mike from Maine. I haven't talked to him in a long time, actually. Where you been?
Howard, I've been trying like hell, man, to get through. It's hard. You get a lot of new callers that are calling in. But
yeah, I've been trying to call from the back office for like minutes now, and only now been able to get through.
Wilding keeps trying to rape me.
I think they're hogging up the phone lines.
I think what it is we got a lot of new listeners because they made the app free.
There's not a single positive tweet, but they got a lot of new listeners because it's free. The people are canceling even though it's free, and they're having trouble canceling.
Oh my god!
It's like the mafia. It's like Michael Corleone in Godfather 3. Every time you want out, they pull you back in.
And
they're home to listen to it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have the dedication to call in while they're at work and jeopardize their careers just to, call into the show.
But you know what else is weird?
What?
This is something we learned through our SiriusXM research. Being on in the morning was key because everybody got up and went to work in the morning.
Right. Yeah.
The whole fucking thing has changed. Actually, when we're on live for the 3 hours, it's the lowest listenership we have all day. It's later in the day it builds.
So welcome to podcasting.
Numbers. I thought you guys weren't counting, right? Fire him. Hi, by the way, Jim Meyer, anyone who works in Sirius that, has any sort of deal on how you dole out money, please stop being this person.
Because that was what I realized when we were talking about Sirius in the clips that he's talking about.
Oh,
so we missed the second. I can't believe I skipped over it. We'll do it for the next one.
Who cares?
You're going to do it this time.
Yeah,
you're not going to lower or make it later in the day.
No, if we made it later in the day, I faded it later in the day. What, Mike?
Sorry, Howard, I didn't interrupt. You get a whole generation of people that are younger that listen to podcasts. Like, they're used to downloading something and listening to it when they want to. So I'm a traditional guy that listens in the morning, but, I listen to your station all day. But I'm saying these people are that's what they want to do. They want to take it with them somewhere and listen to it later. So
nobody wants to take him anywhere. I was struggling getting through these clips.
You have no idea how much I've struggled to listen to this on my app sometimes. I'm like, I go for a walk or something. I'm like, all right, this will be the time that I have to suffer through this. And I'm like, this is ruining my walk.
Okay. I want to, we're going to have to finish through these.
Thank you. I do feel like, when are we ever going to get back to that?
This is the projecting about the future.
And I don't really know the answer. I don't think even by January, anyone will be going back into Manhattan and using those offices.
Does that sound like he already knows he's not coming back?
This is the gayest magic 8-ball you can ever fucking shake.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've been having discussions of my own about this. Do you think you will go back to the studio full time even when you go back?
No, those days have sailed. That ship has sailed. But I would come in if a band comes in, because one of my greatest
that's what I was
pleasures.
saying, that for special occasions you
play that riff again.
Oh my God! Play Hot Cross Buns. I'll be impressed.
So wig on the future of Sirius.
But I don't know. Thank you. I don't know when we're going to get back to being in the studio, if ever. I mean, the part I miss is the musicians coming in. Fafa Fui himself was speaking to an engineer yesterday who was in the building. He said there's about 12 people between all 3 floors. It's like a ghost town.
Wow.
There. Yeah, I mean, they can't have people come in. The COVID-19 is raging. Nothing has changed.
Is it because Cuomo just went on his Cuomo sexual boyfriend just had a press conference and said things are pretty much down?
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's talking about, but okay.
You can't have people sitting next to each other. And I think what's going to happen is we're realizing, I think, as a company more and more, that a lot of people can do their jobs from home, including us.
So this guy that insisted for fucking over a decade he had to be in studio to connect with people is now going, oh, you can do it from home.
Okay, who in Sirius is going to pay this guy $5, let alone $5 million, let alone $100 million, to sit in his basement and pontificate like this?
Nobody. They've got his archives. And as edited as they might be, it's still better than having him, because you could have no dead air if you want. You could have specials 24/7 and have all new content for a year, every single one, like 24 hours, all like old content, but different, consistently different. The next one, number 25. I love music.
I love musicians. I love what they do. I love music.
Oh, it's great.
It is
the most fun thing to watch.
Doesn't that sound like you'd fuck Kellyanne Conway? The same conviction. I love music.
I love
pussy.
Could you? It would be like saying, I love
food.
TV.
I love breathing.
I love cars. I
love water. So, number 26. Would you like to read that one?
Sure. I'd rather talk about garbage than the biggest story in the country.
Yeah, but you got me caught up in all that garbage shit. I was going to tell you, I was trying to talk to you about something else. Listen, did you see George Gregory Floyd's porno?
Who?
He got it wrong.
Hello? Gregory Floyd that got murdered in the street.
That's George Floyd.
Porno?
George Floyd.
Oh, I'm so glad. Isn't that nice, Fillmore, that they're talking about this and they made sure they have King of All Blacks and they got the name wrong?
Wrong completely.
George Floyd. Oh, did you see his porno that he's in?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to get into that.
But
now,
I'm going to have you call in.
Yeah, and do you see him? That wasn't the like he didn't know that was going to happen. But doesn't that sound like so odd for him to go like, I don't want to talk about it. He talked about nothing but fucking stepfather porn, but you don't want to talk about a potential porn involving George Floyd.
Or the fact that you had King of All Blacks call in, who's obviously on the payroll, and you knew he was calling in, so you must have had him bring this up for a reason.
Yeah, I figured. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Maybe it was something he threw in at the last minute, but who knows?
I mean, it's not nothing to be ashamed of. He's in a
I don't know what you're talking about, and I get nervous with you because I don't know what you're talking about. And
you better move out.
George Floyd is in a porno flick. I didn't make it up. He's in a porno flick.
Is that true, Robin?
I don't know. I'm looking now.
It's like, Bowie, find that tape for me. Find it now, if it really does exist. And I mean, like,
our newswoman. Oh,
I don't know.
Howard, I'm looking right now. Hold on a second. I was able to find it, I think. But do you know that it's him?
Oh God!
I mean, it sort of looks like him.
I haven't seen it.
So bad.
King,
how
I
did you
haven't
know,
seen
King?
Like, and who gives a fuck at this point? Like, who gives a fuck?
So bad and awkward.
Yeah, I can't play any more of that. The next one. Wah, I have a mansion. I'm too afraid to leave, and one find me dead here.
Before COVID-19, I used to just, if I heard a hum, I just yell, and it would be
What's
fixed.
that hum?
Right.
What?
Well,
the good old days. Would you appreciate what
he's talking about? People who are expediters to do his every bidding. Yeah.
So what did he live in Versailles?
Pretty much.
You have a lot more when it returns to quote unquote normal.
Yes. It's never going to return to normal, though, the way I see it. Not for me. I'm never going to trust that COVID-19 is not in the air, and I don't want to die. I want to live.
Oh, please
Howard,
die.
you have this huge house.
Yeah.
You're not going to open it?
No. No. I'm just going to, and one day I'm not going to be on the radio, and you'll know that I died in the house.
Oh, thank God. I can't wait.
Yeah.
You'll know I'm dead.
So there's a bit about Oprah that he goes into because she did some Zoom commencement for some graduating class, I believe. And it's like, I didn't see it, I didn't hear it, but he played some clips of it. And this one's called Projection. The commencement game is to be sold and not told, son.
But, of course, with everything going on, all the graduation ceremonies are online. So a lot of celebrities have been filming virtual commencement speeches for the kids.
Yeah, I saw that happening.
Oprah did one on Facebook. I don't know how that comes about. Did they pay her to do that? Like it was a
No, probably not.
Because he knows
so
he'd have to be
basically,
paid to do any of
Oprah
that.
is the equivalent of Crazy Alice, because if you're not, if you're not paid, I mean, we're not paying.
Hi, Fred.
So insane.
Gay Howard.
Unless you're paid, it doesn't mean anything.
Pretty much.
She posted on Facebook for all. It's for everyone. If you want to have a commencement speech, you just watch Oprah. But Jesus Christ, is it boring? I tried to get through it. I couldn't.
He hates her so much.
Yeah, I don't know that Oprah is getting paid for that.
I'm going to give some commencement speeches if I can get paid.
No, well, don't, because Meryl Streep fell asleep through your speech. Goodbye.
I'm surprised. He's not. Basically, Sirius is paying him to breathe on the air. Number 29. Please read that one. I wrote that one especially for you.
Oh, you fuck.
I've read most of these. Come on.
I can't believe I was so impressed with myself, and I look at all these clips you did. I'm like, oh, I'm a loser.
You got clip envy.
I have NPD for clips. The shusher is supposed to be good with a knife, but only in matters of business.
For her, it's always been talking and sharing stories.
Oh, my goodness. I don't believe any kid watched that. No offense. Hi, everybody. It's Howard. I'm not going to bullshit you. For those of you looking for answers, you never find them. Then you drop dead. The only thing I can tell you is if you work really hard, at some point in your life, you might actually get to the point where you have a shusher. Where...
Go with the turd.
Wait. I'm going to give you this privilege, Fillmore.
Go ahead.
Now you're going to know you made it in life. Just listen.
Okay. Okay. Number 30. Projection from both Wig and the Fat Man.
Gotta have this music though on my. What a terrible. Like, why not speak from the heart? Why read the speech?
Oprah's not relating anymore. I don't know what's going on.
She's not relating
anymore.
And the last one, the last one's just for you. It's real quick.
Never do blackface.
Well, really, you know what you've learned in all this time. Never do blackface.
Never do blackface. Never. Don't wash your asshole in the sink.
What? Wait.
Don't make your limo driver famous.
That was a clip. That was just a clip of him. They were, mocking Oprah's what do you call it? Commencement speech.
He's being serious. Never do blackface. Never let your
she said
limo
that.
right. But then never let your limo driver get famous. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are really points that he thinks are solid.
You should. I didn't even get all of them. I mean, that was just a couple of them. And apparently, from what people have said, that they scrubbed that blackface line out of the replay.
Yes,
and it might very well come up on ours, and I have to edit that out. And if that happens, guys, well, you're hearing us talk about it. So just imagine us doing it in my best Robin voice. And we know we've learned, Howard, never do blackface.
And we don't do blackface.
No, we don't. Right now, I'd be happy to do clean face, because it's early in the morning now. So I think that's going to be it for us for now. We have stepped over the second, which really wasn't particularly noteworthy, other than the fact that it was all meta talk about pre-coronavirus fee. Bob D, you'll love that one. His fisting preferences. And then talking about his decor in the mansion. But we'll get into that with the next one. And as soon as I get yesterday's show, I'm going to cut it up and maybe we'll get another episode this weekend. So any closing thoughts, my dear?
I'll try to help you with next week's. I was super impressed with my 10 clips. My 10 clips I first tried out. Like a rookie Luddite pile of shit. And
I recorded them on 8-track.
I was so impressed with myself.
It's all right. You did good.
It's like a CD on Kazaa.
Baby steps.
Oh my God. Either way, I'll be happy to help with the next few.
Okay, that's good. All right. Well, guys, I don't know if this is going to be a one-part or a two-parter, but whichever way, thanks for listening. And I want to give out a smooth shout out to our dears Josie Wales and Raven, who are the mainstays of the listening thread, or the mockery thread rather, in our Facebook group rather. And also a big shout out to Brendan Flaherty, who really pitched in this week and did a great job helping the girls and riffing and really doing a great job on the gifts. I couldn't help as much as I normally would because I was really busy this week getting some of these clips. But you did a really good job, and all the usual cast does a great job. And I will say that Raven would like maybe a little more help in the next week or so when she goes back to work. She might need a little helping hand. She'll still be on there, but she always loves to have people helping when you can. Yes, Sam.
You guys can also really help by not in the middle of the night moving out of Neighbourhood.
In your bare feet, so your shoes don't make any noise.
Sure.
All right, guys, take it easy. We'll solve racism one at a time. Just stay where you are. Love you. Bye.
Do you mind if we dance with your dates?
Why, no, not at all. Go right ahead.
If I was in your shoes, I'd be
leaving. What a good idea.